Once we accept the harm principle, we immediately run into a difficult question. What counts as harm? Or you might say, what counts as harm for the purposes of applying the principle? Sometimes it's easy. If you kill someone, that's harm. If you seriously injure them, that's harm. Other issues are not so easy, right? Take the example of pornography. Many people would argue that when a person appears in pornographic pictures or videos, the person who appears in the picture or video is being degraded, and being degraded is a harm. Now, I tend to agree with this claim, but then I have to ask the question, does it count as the kind of harm that justifies government interference? And that gets us into some complicated debates, right? Now, you might say, well, obviously it does, right? But we have to be careful, right? Because there are some people that would say, well, now wait a minute, right? Practicing a false religion is harm, right? So if a person ends up practicing a false religion, well, they've been harmed in some way. And then I want to say, well, okay, but I don't, if we start or some people might even want to say, well, behaving immorally, right? Just by behaving immorally, you're being harmed. So something that would encourage you to behave immorally harms you. And at that point I say, okay, well, if we expand the notion of harm to include anything possible, right? Well, then the principle really doesn't have any meaning anymore. Then it doesn't make any distinctions, right? So then the question becomes, what kinds of harm justify the government interference? And that ends up being a more difficult question than it initially seems.